Hey folks, I'm Dennis. Thanks for watching my video. Today I'm going to show you how to fix a sticky turn signal switch on a Honda motorcycle. This bike is a 2003 Honda Shadow Ace 750. Almost all your Honda cruisers have the same type switch arrangement on the left side. You got your horn, turn signal switch, and your high beam. What happens is the turn signal switch gets sticky. Like if I put it on left, it slowly drifts back. That's because it's gummed up on the inside. And then sometimes they're hard to push in to clear. So I'm going to show you how to open this thing up, clean it up, get it working right, save yourself a bunch of money not having to replace it. What you're going to need for this job is a Phillips screwdriver, a can of contact cleaner for electronics, and a package or a tube of dielectric grease. Now I'm going to take you underneath the switch so you can see where the screws are. So this is under the switch looking up. You've got a screw right here and you've got a screw right here. And you got to take those out. That lets you split the switch housing. On some bikes you might have to move your other accessories, or if you got your mirror or whatever, if it's in your way. I shouldn't have to do it on mine. Just regular machine screws. Then you can just split this housing. Like so. Just kind of pull it off, between your handlebar and the mirror. You can disconnect all this, your high beam, if you want to or not. I'm not going to. I'm just going to do it with it like so. All of this turn signal switch arrangement in here, it just gets gummed up from old grease. Old dielectric grease that they put on it. I'm going to take this apart so we can get it good and clean. So now just take that screw out. Just let you pull that lever out. That's the turn signal lever, and then be careful, you lose these brass washers and such, but it's just all gummy. If you do drop this or anything, there's a brass washer on the bottom side of it. Then there's a steel washer on the top and the screw, and then the screw's got a little tiny lock washer on it also, just in case you drop it or anything. Then you've got this metal support that the turn signal lever itself sits into. I'm going to go ahead and take that out also. Little tiny machine screws. It's just 2 screws to get it out. They're the same size, so no big deal. Then you can, now, I'll show you this too, because it's important when you put it back together. You got this piece, which is basically the keeper for this wire to the high beam, and then you've got this piece which goes over the switch. Now this piece goes in first. You can get this turn signal switch itself out of that housing there, and you can, if you want to take your horn button out, there's a little screw there, you can get it out also and clean it. I'm going to probably do that just for kicks because I've got the rest of it apart anyway, and it's not going to hurt a thing to clean it with some contact cleaner. It kind of rocks out of there. A little trickier to get it out, but you can just kind of keep working it and then it'll pop out. And then get that whole bottom housing off, kind of get it out of the way. And you can do the same thing with the high beam switch if you want. 2 screws there, you can pop it out. I'm not going to do that, but in this wire clamp, I'm not going to do that because I haven't had any issues with that. Back to this turn signal switch. You can see how gummy it is though. It's just gooped up. It's got, that's off the side of it. I'm going to take my oil rag and I'm just going to kind of wipe all this excess goo off of it. I'm not going to get real aggressive with it because I don't want to break anything or knock anything loose, but I can knock the bulk of the crud off of that switch, which is really just the old dielectric grease is all it is. So take your contact cleaner, whatever kind you've got. You can buy this stuff at, you can buy it online, I'll leave a link. You can buy it at your parts house, automotive or motorcycle shop, automotive parts house or motorcycle shop, whatever. And I'm gonna start spraying that on there, like so. Get it good and wet, and then wipe it. It evaporates pretty quick, so you can use your rag a little bit when it's wet, but it'll evaporate pretty fast. And then you can start working that thing right here, this part down in here. You can kind of work it. What you want to do is spray that switch out with it on one side and then push it over to the other and spray it out some more. Work it back and forth like so a little bit. Basically, you're just trying to, get it clean, and you can tell the difference right away when you get it clean, how much smoother it operates. Shoot in there into those cavities between the center part of the switch and the sides. That'll help get everything all cleaned out. If you want to get real into it, you can, take it like a little pick or something with your rag and get in there and clean that all out on the inside. Just be careful not to damage anything. I mean, it's a pretty robust little switch, but anytime you go jabbing stuff into other things, you run a risk of doing some damage. So just be careful with that. But you can pretty much get it all good and clean, just like that. Check the back side, same thing. Move that switch back and forth. Checking that part. Get this little ball bearing. That's a spring with a ball bearing. Make sure you get it clean too. That's to turn the blinker off. You want that to be clean. That spring in there gets gummed up too, and then it jams up when you're pushing on that button to turn the blinker off, or the indicator for our overseas friends. Anyway, do that a few times, work that thing back and forth. That pretty much takes care of that. That'll make it work a whole lot better. While I'm in here, I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of shots in that high beam switch. Do the same thing with it. I'm going to work him back and forth. Let him dry. We'll do the same thing to the horn button. Turn him over. He's got a couple of holes in the bottom. Just give it a shot. Right in the holes. Also, here on the side, there's a little spot. Give it a shot there. Before you put it back together, you also want to get the lever cleaned. That's where your contacts are for it. So same thing, just spray it a bit. As you can see, it gets pretty gummy, front and back. Oh, there. There you go. Make it clean. I'd go ahead and clean the pivot point on both sides. All right, now you take your dielectric grease, in whatever form you got it in, and on the switch, right down in there, and right up in there are the contacts. So that's where you want your grease to go. If you can get it in there, with your tube, that's fine. If you can't, you may have to tuck it up in there with something. You don't want to like completely douse it. You just want enough to keep the contacts from corroding. You can see that. I'm not sure you can. Just a dab, for lack of a better term, about that much. Squeeze that up in there. Work that switch back and forth a little bit to distribute it. And then just for kicks, since I've got these open, I'm going to go ahead and drop a little dab in that light switch. Do the same thing with him, turn him off and on a little bit, kind of squish that in there. And the same thing, may as well do with the horn switch too while we're at it, right? The easiest way to get to the contact on the horn switch is through the bottom in this square hole. And I'm only going to put a real small dab in it because it doesn't take much. You really might have to take something like the little parts you tore off of the tab to kind of tuck that down in there to get on that contact. There we go. We'll let it around for a minute. It'll be good to go. That's fine. Now, if your hands are sensitive on this contact cleaner, you want to be careful because it will dry your skin out. Now we're going to put all this back together, right? Take the bottom. Of course, that's the part that faces you because that's where the horn switch is. And this is where the turn signal lever goes. So, first thing you got to do is work that horn switch back into position. Get him back in there like so. Like that. There we go. So you just get that in there. Tighten him up. Don't crank it down. Just get it snug because these are plastic. And if you're like me, probably need a number 1 for those. If you're like me, your bike is older and the plastic could be a little brittle. And then every switch you put in there, just make sure it's working once you get it tightened up. All right, so next you're gonna do your turn signal switch. Get that kind of out of your way. Get that wire tucked down in there, your cable tucked down in there like so, into that notch. If you still got your factory zip tie on there, it kind of goes into that slot. And then on your switch, your turn signal switch, sorry, need 3 hands. This part where the ball bearing and the spring is goes into this little notch back here on the back side of that housing. Okay, so you just get him lined up like so. The ear on this side goes behind that screw hole. Okay, and then you just slip him down in there like that. Okay, so to put this back together, I recommend getting you a magnetic tip screwdriver. It's a lot easier. These screws look like they're brass, but they're really not. They're steel. So make it easier to hold on to them. So you take this keeper and it goes in like, sorry, it goes in like so. All right, that's what holds the switch in. So that's how it's going to go in there. You can see that. There you go. Sorry. Goes in that arrangement. You only want to put this screw in first because the other keeper shares the other screw. This one, the high part holds the wire for the high beam, low beam. The low part holds the wiring harness that comes into the switch. So you want to make sure your high beam switch wire is on the inside of this double of this channel. And then this is going to go in like so and hold all that together, okay? Sorry, trying to get this at an angle where you can see it. There we go. and then tighten that up. Now we just got to put the pivot in, the lever. You got the lever for the switch, and then you've got the screw and washer that goes on the top. So you got a brass bushing that's got a shoulder on it, and the shoulder goes, this is upside down, the shoulder goes into the pivot. Now before I put all that together and screw it together, I'm going to put me another dab of dielectric grease here for lubrication and also on these contacts. So I'm going to do that real quick before I put all this together. I'm going to put just a dab on this pivot point, a dab on the contacts, top and bottom. So put the bushing on there like it goes. Put all that together. Line your lever up so that the notch here rests on that ball bearing on the white part of the switch, and then put your screw in the pivot hole. Yeah. And then tighten that up. And same as the other switches, check it. See, that's way better. Yeah, it's not sticking, way better than it was. Now we can put her back on. I don't know about y'all, but anytime I take anything apart on my bike, I clean everything. Just because it's a good chance to get in all the nooks and crannies that you can't normally reach. All right, now take your housing. You want the inside part of this seal, grommet, whatever you want to call it, to go inside the inner slot of this housing, and the outer part to set inside that little recess. And then you gotta kind of work that in there. And if you want to take your mirror off or move your move your clutch, whatever, you can, but I don't need to do that. So there we go. Get it all back together. And good to go. Good as new, and I didn't have to drop 50 or 60 bucks on a switch. Thanks for watching my video, folks. I appreciate it. Give me a thumbs up if you would, and subscribe to my channel. Hope to see you back soon. Take care. God bless you.